All right, here we are. We've reached the final part of our Chi Men Explainer series. You've learned all the pieces, the methods, the applications. But now we get to the most important part of all, the wisdom to use this incredible knowledge with purpose and, most importantly, with integrity. And this quote, it just says it all, doesn't it? Learning Chi Men is like being handed a very powerful tool. And with that kind of power comes a huge responsibility to use it well, to use it ethically, and to be really honest about what it can and what it can't do. So in this final session, we're going to get real. We're going to talk about the limitations of Chi Men, we're going to set our ethical compass, and then we'll map out a clear path for you to continue on your journey to mastery. This is really the capstone that pulls everything you've learned together. And just take a second to appreciate the foundation you've built. I mean, from the absolute basics of the framework and palaces, we move through the doors, the stars, the gods, all the way to reading charts and actually using them out in the world. You've taken in a ton of information, and you are so ready for this final piece of the puzzle. Okay, so now we're going to shift gears a little. We're moving from what you know to how you should use it. And this part is absolutely critical. This is where we set that ethical compass, and it all starts with being real about the limits of this art. So here it is, maybe the most crucial thing to remember. Chi Men is basically an energetic weather forecast. It tells you when conditions are favorable, it shows you the patterns, and it can seriously increase your probability of success. But, and this is a big but, it does not guarantee success. It cannot override anyone's free will, and it absolutely does not mean you can just kick back and not put in the effort. Which means you have to think of Chi Men as a supplementary tool. It's a co-pilot, not the pilot. You use it to time your actions for maximum impact. You do not use it to replace your actual skills, your business sense, your financial knowledge, or professional medical advice. It's here to enhance the skills you already have, not create them out of thin air. And this leads us to a very clear ethical line in the sand. Chi Men is for self-optimization. It's for finding the best timing for your goals, your decisions, your growth. It is never, ever to be used for manipulation. You don't use it to target someone else's vulnerable moment or to try and harm a competitor. That is not the way. If you ever find yourself in a gray area, just stop and ask yourself this one simple question. It's the ultimate ethical gut check. This is all about respecting another person's free will and their own journey. That has to be your North Star every time you look at a chart. And finally, on this topic, there's the wisdom of just being humble. When you talk about these insights, you have to acknowledge the uncertainty. Always use phrases like, the chart suggests, instead of this will happen. You're interpreting ancient wisdom, you're not reading from some infallible, all-knowing oracle. Your words carry a lot of weight, so you've got to choose them carefully. Okay, so let's zoom out now and look at the bigger picture. Because as powerful as Chi Men is on its own, its true potential is really unleashed when you see it as just one part of a bigger, more holistic life strategy toolkit. Think of it this way, right? Bazi helps you answer the question of who you are. It's your personal blueprint. Feng Shui is all about where you should act, optimizing your environment for success. Well, Chi Men is the final piece of that puzzle. It tells you when and in which direction to act. You put those three together, wow, that's a truly comprehensive strategy for navigating just about anything. So, you've got the foundation, you have your ethical framework, and you see the bigger picture. The question now is pretty simple. Where do you go from here? Let's map out your path to true mastery. Your journey forward really just starts with simple, consistent action. First, practice every single day. Pull a chart, even for something small, and just analyze it. Second, you've got to track your results. Keep a journal so you can see the connection between the timing you choose and what actually happens. And third, find your people. Mastery is not a solo sport. It's also really important to know your limits. You can do so much on your own, but for the huge life decisions like business partnerships, marriage, a major move, it might be wise to consult a professional, especially when you get into really advanced stuff like hidden stems or flying palace analysis. A seasoned expert can see things you might miss. Knowing when to get help is a sign of wisdom, not weakness. So as we bring this all to a close, I want to lift our thinking up one last time, beyond just the techniques and the charts. The true goal of practicing Chi Men is to cultivate a whole new way of seeing the world, to develop a truly strategic mindset. Because ultimately, this is the real gift of Chi Men. It's the awareness to see opportunities that other people just don't. It's the strategic patience to wait for that perfect moment instead of trying to force things. It's the adaptability to pivot when the energy shifts. And maybe most of all, it's the humility to accept that some things are just out of our control. That's the real wisdom here. So I'm going to leave you with this one final thought. You've been given a very powerful, very detailed map. But a map doesn't do you any good if you don't actually go on the journey. It's your actions, your ethics, and your wisdom that will ultimately determine your destination. You still have to walk the path. Thank you so much for joining me. May your timing be ever favorable.